Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fraud Watch Friday, brought to you by AARP. I'm Ed Michaels, your Fraud Watch volunteer, and today we're going to talk about, unfortunately, how you can get scammed as you plan your vacation. And I know this time of year, a lot of people are involved in that, so we want to give you some heads up about some things you need to look at. But first of all, before we do that, as always, I'm going to give you a place to go if you want to get more information about anything I talk about today or about any other type of fraud or scam that may be concerning to you or you may have been exposed to. All you have to do is go online at www.aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. And that's scanning at the bottom of the screen for you right there. Fraud Watch Network is all one word. Or if you want to call the AARP hotline and talk to somebody about what's happened or report what's happened, you can do that. The number for that is also coming up on the bottom of the screen, and that is 877-908-3360. That's the AARP fraud hotline. So don't be afraid to use any of those. There is no charge to access these tools, and you don't have to be an AARP member, and no one's going to ask you to become an AARP member while you're doing this. So feel free to use this. It's a service to you. Okay, let's talk about vacation scams. Well, you probably worked very hard this year. You've been saving up. You want to get a nice vacation with your family, and because we don't have travel agents much out there anymore, you go online to book a site. And you'll see innumerable sites out there when you start booking. They're all kind of third-party sites that people can go to if they've got properties, an Airbnb or even a small resort or hotel that they want to publicize. And they pay to get on these sites. The problem is that when you access these sites, you may not know that you're being scammed until you arrive at your destination, and what you see is not what you thought you were going to see, or even worse, there's no place to stay at all. So let's talk about what you might run into as you get onto these individual sites. The first thing you need to notice is that, or the thing you need to know is that these sites are not necessarily secure, particularly if someone is putting a listing on up there. But they can go on to other listings of much better properties and actually get in there and take out the contact numbers of the actual owners of locations and put in their own contact information so that it comes back to you. And unfortunately, during high traffic areas, during high season, where these places are booked out for weeks in advance, sometimes the owners of these sites don't even look at them for a long time and don't recognize the fact that their contact information has been hijacked. So it's very dangerous. You never know who might be on the other side of this. Secondly, another thing that they do once they're on there is that they will hijack the pictures that are for a particular location and build a new location of their own using pictures from another site to actually create a non-existent location for you to go in and rent. A third aspect of this, also unfortunate, is someone who has a substandard property will capture some of these images and use them to present a place with better amenities than what they've got to offer, even though they may have a legitimate place to stay. So, what do you need to watch for? Well, as always, if the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. You have to ask yourself if a place has got glorious amenities, it's a great location, and it's a wonderful price. Why isn't it booked already, especially during high season? Now, they'll give you lots of song and dance. We've had a late cancellation or something like that. But the upshot is, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. One of the other tells that you can run into is that they're going to seek payment for your booking, either entirety or for a substantial down payment or to hold the site for you. When they ask for this, it is always a tell when they ask it to be the money to be sent to them in a non-traceable form. For example, cryptocurrencies, uh, electronic funds transfer, money orders, um, cash credit card or cash cards. Any of these ways, if they're asking for non-traceable money, it's almost a guarantee that you're running into a scam. Um, Another thing that's a good tell is if the rates are substantially lower than other properties that are listed in the same area. Again, this is usually used as a lure to get you in there. It can even be different than the other things about low prices and high amenities, but just not conversant with what you're already seeing for other sites in the area. I know we ran into something like this not long ago when my wife was looking into booking some Airbnbs for a trip to Hawaii for our niece's wedding. So you got to be careful. We spotted it and we stayed away from them. Another thing that's a big tell is when you see a listing very close to what is traditionally a sold out event. So things like the Masters Golf Tournament, the Super Bowl, even in terms of Australia and New Zealand, the upcoming Women's World Cup. If it's right at the cusp of these events starting and these incredible places are being available for you to rent, pretty good chance there's a scam involved. They get snapped up and they have waiting lists. So it's very unreasonable to expect that you're going to get a prime location at the very end without it being a scam. Another tell, they want a very quick commitment from you. They want you to book right away, saying that there's a bunch of people that are also interested and the first one in gets it. Don't fall for that. And finally, when they won't take a credit card from you, that is a big tell because that, of course, is something that requires them to have a relationship with the bank to be able to process that. And secondly is a traceable link that can be followed and can help you get your money back. So if all those things or any of those things show up, be very careful. Or otherwise, you might show up at your location and find out, hey, there's nothing there. Or there's 5 or 6 other people all showing up at the same time as you, and there's nothing there. Or one of the other tricks that these people will use, even if they have legitimate locations, when you arrive, they say, well, we're sorry, the people that booked in there have extended. We can't really kick them out. They're a customer we have every year. So we're going to send you over to this other location that we've got, which is usually significantly substandard or at least not up to the standards for what you were booking. Oftentimes you don't really have an option. You might be in the Virgin Islands and you find out there's no other place to stay unless you use the one that they tell you that they've got available for you. So you kind of take your lumps and you find out that you've been scammed. So those are what you have to watch for. Those are the tips that you're going to see that there might be something going wrong. But there are ways to protect yourself. The first thing you should do is research. The easiest thing to qualify immediately is get yourself on Google Earth and go to the street level view. This is a free download on the internet, Google Earth. You can pull it up through your Google, download it, and there's a little icon that they show in there with a little man. You put him on the street right in front of your property, and you can see what that property looks like. If it doesn't look like what you thought you were going to see, it also allows you, and this is very important, allows you to look around the street around you so you can see if the neighborhood is what you think you want it to be. So you should always check this stuff out before you make this move to book your place. So also insist on a phone conversation with these people. Many times they're going to say that they can't, they're unavailable, let's do it all by email. Why do they do this? Because many times it's someone from a foreign country that's doing this. It doesn't speak English too well. So they don't want to talk to you. They want to keep it to email where they feel like they control it. But even email can be a tell, because if you see significant grammar mistakes or significant spelling mistakes, this is usually an indication you're dealing with someone who's not facile with the language and is pulling a scam. So always insist on that. Get a written rental agreement to review before you send them money in any form, whether it be through one of these non-traceable sources or even through your credit card. Any reputable Airbnb, resort, hotel will give you something that shows you what you're going to get, and that you can use to have them stand behind what they promised. When you get this, you want to make sure you check it. Make sure that in the fine print, there isn't something that says there's an additional charge to use amenities like the beach or the swimming pool, that it's documented in there that you're going to get that free breakfast that was promised on the site. That there's not an additional charge for that. Make sure that there's no fee for initiating the contract. That should never be in there. And, a variety of things like this that are just ways that money can be extracted from you. Another way is to demand that you have an insurance policy on their property before they go in on an Airbnb, for example. This is not something that you should worry about. This should be included in their costs and not a tag onto you, so that they're using some sort of lead-in or lure to get you a low price and then bump up the prices. So these are all things you need to do to protect yourself. Finally, you can check in with the local Better Business Bureau in the community that you want to go to. If there's been frauds attached to this company, or the people that say that they're the owners, the BBB will be able to tell you about that. You can also often find things if you put the address or the owner's name into a Google search, and sometimes people will post if they've been subject to a scam. So those are other ways to protect yourself. And finally, just because it's on a site on the web with other legitimate sites does not mean that it's legitimate. Places like Craigslist are loaded with false leads all the time. So that's essentially it for vacation scams. I just want to touch very briefly on one other part of this that is actually prevalent this time of year and is very similar and has many of the same tells. So you can use the same information that I just presented. You don't have to go through it all again. But that's apartment leasing scams, because this time of year, your kids and kids are probably looking for places to stay for college living. Maybe you're thinking about changing to a new apartment location to get into a better school district for your kids or your grandkids. So use the same tools that I just described. They're the same kind of scams are run, the same kind of ways to protect yourself are applicable. So I'm running out of time right now. I'm going to give this a wrap. But as I do, I'm going to remind you, as I always do, that if you need more information about this or any other scam or fraud that you're exposed to, you can get that information at www.aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. All one word. If you want to talk to someone or report a possible scam, you can go to the AARP Fraud Helpline at 877-908-3360. And always, as I say, you don't have to be an AARP member. There is no charge to access this information, and no one's going to ask you to become a AARP member while you're using these services. Please avail yourself of them and be safe out there. I hope this will help you have a great, safe, and value-laden vacation. And I'm just going to close by telling you, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. So be careful out there. Thanks, and we'll see you next month.